All right, so you're looking into drop shipping, huh? And you want to figure out if inventory source is the way to go for automation.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got a ton of research and articles about it, and some pretty interesting takeaways. So let's deep dive into all this drop shipping automation stuff.
Well, dropshipping is definitely super popular, especially
Uh-huh.
if you're new to e-commerce. I mean, who wouldn't be drawn to low startup cost, no dealing with inventory and like a zillion products to choose from?
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true. But, a lot of stuff we've been reading makes it clear drop shipping is no easy money thing. The word hustle comes up a lot of fun. So, yeah, big potential, but also a ton of work. And that's where Inventory Source says they come in, right, to streamline all that hustle. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of Inventory Source, I got to ask, this is kind of confusing thing in what we've read. Some articles are all drop shipping is passive income, but others are like, nah, it's constant work. So which is it, really?
Okay, yeah, we need to clear that up right away. Tools like Inventory Source can handle a lot of the hard stuff, but dropshipping is not passive at all. You still have to build your whole online store, make your brand stand out, market those products, and be amazing at customer service. It's a business.
Yeah.
And like any business, it takes work strategy and, being ready to change things up.
Gotcha. So, no, just sitting back and watching the money roll in. Okay, so we got all this stuff on Inventory Source. What's the main idea behind it?
Basically, Inventory Source connects your online store. Like if you're using Shopify to a huge network of suppliers, it automates all that boring stuff that eats
Yeah.
up your time, managing product info, sending orders back and forth, and those annoying inventory updates.
And I'm seeing some cool stuff here about products syncing automatically. Like,
Yeah.
imagine never having to update a description or how much stock you have manually. That seems like a game changer.
Oh, it totally saves you a ton of time. But it's more than that. Syncing everything automatically means way fewer mistakes. So your store always shows the right info, which builds trust with customers and search engines. That's huge for your business in the long run.
Makes sense. So before we get too excited about automation, all these articles keep saying how important it is to pick the right niche. Why is that so crucial for drop shipping?
Your niche is like the foundation. It decides what products you sell, who you're selling to, even how you market everything. Just chasing trends can be a huge mistake. You end up with products nobody wants and a ton of competition. Your sources say you got to do serious research, using things like Google Trends and keyword analysis. You want a niche where people are always buying stuff, where you can make decent profit, and honestly something you're actually interested in.
One article said, don't even bother with niches that are already super crowded. You'll never stand out. Like, they read my mind. You want a niche that makes money, but isn't so packed that nobody sees your store.
Exactly. And there are some good examples. One article talked about how eco-friendly pet products are getting more and more popular with less competition. Another one mentioned personalized baby gifts. People love unique and sentimental stuff. These are just examples, but they show how important niche research is.
Got it. So we got our niche, maybe.
Yeah.
And Inventory Source is doing its automation magic in the background. Now let's talk about the most important part of dropshipping, the suppliers. We're seeing a lot about supplier directories. Inventory Source is a pretty big one, right?
Yeah, their directory's huge. It's got tons of potential suppliers. But here's the thing. You can't just pick any random supplier. Your sources are really serious about doing your homework.
I'm seeing some different advice, though. Some say you got to be fast and test out lots of suppliers quickly.
Yeah.
Others say you got to check everything super carefully, like ordering samples and reading all the fine print. What do you think?
It's a balance. You got to move fast, especially at the beginning. But if you don't check things out carefully, you'll have problems later. It's like a first date for your business. Read reviews, look closely at their rules, and yeah, order samples to see the quality for yourself. Don't just trust what they say. Make sure it's true.
So be quick, but don't be reckless.
Exactly. And one more thing, don't rely on just one supplier. It's risky. What if they can't keep up with orders or their quality gets bad? Having multiple suppliers gives you options and protects you if something goes wrong.
That's smart. And it goes back to that hustle idea. We talked about being prepared even when things are going well.
Totally. And speaking of hustle, there's one thing where automation can only do so much.
You mean customer service?
Right. I'm seeing that everywhere. Dropshipping makes customer service kind of tricky. You're not actually handling the products yourself. It's a tightrope walk, for sure. Inventory Source might make things smooth on the back end, but you're the one dealing with customers, right? All their questions, worries, maybe even some complaints. And those are your chances to really shine. The research really pushes clear communication and setting the right expectations from the get-go, like having a super detailed shipping policy and returns policy right there on your website. Easy to find transparency is so important.
Yeah. No surprises for the customer.
Right.
They need to know exactly what's going to happen when they click Buy now. How long is shipping going to take? What if the product's the wrong size or they just change their mind? Having those policies clear up front can save everyone a lot of headaches.
Totally. And even though you're not physically packing and shipping those orders, you still got to stay in the loop. Your sources say to keep checking order statuses through Inventory Source and your e-commerce platform. That way you can spot potential problems before they blow up and handle things proactively.
So what happens if a shipment's delayed or product's damaged? That stuff's bound to happen sometimes. What's the best way to deal with that?
Communication again. Keep the customer informed every step of the way. Let them know about the delay. Apologize sincerely and work with your supplier to fix it. ASAP. Things will go wrong. But it's how you handle those problems that really defines your brand in the customer's eyes.
It's turning a negative into a positive.
Right.
Showing them how much you care about making things right. Now, switching gears a bit, I'm seeing a lot about metrics and data in these articles. It's like the drop shipping world is obsessed with tracking every little thing.
It's not just an obsession, it's essential. You got to understand your numbers.
Yeah.
To really succeed. I mean, tools like Google Analytics give you a ton of data, like website traffic conversion rates, how much people are spending per order, even how much they spend over their lifetime as a customer.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Website traffic, I get it. How many people are visiting your store? But what about these other things?
Conversion rate tells you how many of those visitors actually buy something. It shows you how well your store design and marketing are working. Average order value is the average amount each customer spends per order.
So if you can bump that number up even a little, it makes a big difference to your bottom line.
You got it. And then there's customer lifetime value. That's the long game. It measures how much a customer spends with you over their entire time as a customer. That's pure gold. It tells you how good you are at keeping customers coming back and building loyalty.
So it's not just about getting new customers. It's about turning those new customers into regulars.
Yeah.
Building that loyalty.
Exactly. And to do that, you've got to really understand your data, figure out what's working, what's not, and keep making things better. That might mean testing different versions of your website and product listings, fine-tuning your marketing, or even trying new products or suppliers. It never stops.
Sounds like a lot to handle, especially when you're first starting out. These articles mention outsourcing. Could that help?
Outsourcing can be a lifesaver, especially as you grow. Imagine having a team of experts taking care of things like design, social media, marketing, even customer support.
Right.
It frees you up to focus on the big picture.
Tempting, but probably not something you jump into right away. More like a strategic move once your business is stable.
You got it. Building a successful dropshipping business is a marathon, not a sprint. You got to take it one step at a time. Speaking of which, I see a section here called Advanced Hustle, Scaling Your Dropshipping Business. Ready to take things to the next level.
Let's do it. I'm seeing a lot about expanding product offerings. More products, more choice for customers, more potential sales. But how do you find those awesome new products that people will actually want?
Well, there are a few ways. You could go back to that Inventory Source supplier directory, explore new niches, or go deeper into your existing categories. You might even find suppliers who offer exclusive products, or you could get into private labeling.
Wait, private labeling? That's something I've been wondering about. The articles say it can make your store stand out and maybe even boost your profits. What's the deal with that?
Basically, private labeling means you get products directly from the manufacturer and sell them under your own brand name. It gives you more control over branding, pricing, even the product itself.
So instead of just reselling, you become a brand owner. That's a whole new level.
Yeah.
But I bet it comes with its own challenges.
For sure. You got to be even more careful when checking out manufacturers. You need to make sure their quality is good and they can handle the amount you want to sell. Then there's branding and packaging. You got to create a brand identity that people remember and that shows what your brand is all about.
Sounds like a ton of work, but also super rewarding. And once you've got your product line sorted, your sources talk about building a really strong brand. It's more than just selling stuff, right? It's about creating a whole experience for your customers.
That's it. We've talked about things like having a consistent brand voice and making your store look amazing. But building a strong brand goes deeper. It's about telling a story about your brand, giving it a personality that people connect with, and creating content that does more than just show off products.
It's about making people feel something when they interact with your brand.
Right.
Creating a connection that goes beyond just buying something.
Exactly. Yeah. You want people to not just like your products, but to love your brand and what it stands for. That kind of loyalty is a game changer.
Sounds like a recipe for success. So as your dropshipping business grows, efficiency and automation become even more important.
All right.
All those marketing strategies we talked about, SEO, social media, paid advertising, email marketing, it's a lot.
And that's where technology steps in. Your sources talk about automation tools that can handle things like email campaigns, social media scheduling, even tracking how well your marketing is doing.
Yeah.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Right. And speaking of working smarter, I'm seeing a lot about customer relationship management, CRM. Is that something dropshippers should use?
Definitely. CRM software helps you manage all your interactions with customers, track what they buy, and personalize their experience. It's a powerful tool for building relationships that last.
Like there's this whole world of tools and tech out there to help dropshipping businesses run smoothly. But with all this focus on automation and data, is there a risk of losing that personal touch? That human connection that's so important.
That's a good point. You got to be careful. Technology is awesome, but it should never replace real human connection.
So even in the digital age, those personal relationships still matter.
More than ever, make sure your customers feel valued, heard, and appreciated. Answer their questions thoughtfully and quickly, go above and beyond to solve problems, and show them that you really care about their experience.
It's about building those connections, one customer at a time. So alongside all the advice on what TO do, your sources also talk about the things to avoid. The drop shipping anti-hustle. What are some of the biggest traps to watch out for? You're right, got to know the bad moves just as much as the good ones.
Right. And these articles have a whole section on drop shipping mistakes. Some of them are pretty scary.
Yeah, one thing that trips people up is not testing products properly before they put them up in their store. I mean, it's easy to get excited about new products, and you just assume the supplier's descriptions and pictures are right. But that can backfire big time. So don't just take the supplier's word for it.
Right.
We got to actually get those products in our hands.
Absolutely. Your sources are really clear about this. Order samples of every single product you want to sell. Look them over carefully. Check the quality, make sure they're what you expect, and even more importantly, what your customers expect.
It's like trust but verify.
Right.
You're building a reputation with your store,
Yeah.
and that all comes down to the quality of what you're selling.
Totally. And talking about reputation, another big mistake is ignoring customer reviews. I mean, reviews can make or break a product these days, and they can make or break your store too.
Yeah, I'm seeing that everywhere. Pay attention to what people are saying. The good A&D, the bad.
Yeah.
The good reviews are awesome, but it's the bad ones that can teach you the most.
Exactly. Negative reviews might be annoying, but they're a chance to get better. They can show you problems with a product, a supplier, even your customer service. And if you handle those complaints quickly and professionally, you can actually turn a bad experience into a good one. It shows you care.
It's all about showing your customers you're listening and you take their feedback seriously. So we talked about this before, but I'm seeing it again in these articles. Complacency seems like a big no-no in dropshipping.
And for good reason. E-commerce is always changing. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. Trends, come-and-go platforms change. People's tastes change.
So even when things are good, you can't just relax.
Right.
You got to stay up to date, adapt to the changes, and always be learning and improving.
Exactly. Always be learning. That's key. Now let's talk about those specific marketing strategies that can really take your dropshipping business to the next level. The big three: SEO, social media, and paid advertising.
Got to be honest, the marketing stuff kind of scares me. So many different things to do, so many platforms, so many acronyms. Where do we even start?
It can be overwhelming, but your sources break it down into steps, starting with SEO, search engine optimization. Basically, you want your online store to show up high in the search results when people are looking for stuff you sell.
So it's about being visible, right? Making sure your store isn't buried where nobody can find it. But how do we do that? Is it some secret code only computer geniuses?
It's not magic, but you gotta be strategic. You gotta understand how search engines work and design your website and product listings accordingly.
So you gotta speak Google's language.
Exactly. Use the right keywords in your product titles and descriptions. Make sure your website's easy to navigate. And make sure it works well on phones. Those are just a few things you can do to get higher rankings.
Got it. But then there's this whole other thing called off-page optimization. What's that about?
That's about building trust and authority for your website. It's like getting other websites to recommend you.
So like getting other sites to say, hey, this website's good.
Exactly. One of the best ways to do that is with backlinks. Those are links from other websites pointing back to yours. The more good backlinks you have, the more Google thinks your website's legit.
Like a popularity contest for websites.
Kinda. But it's not just about how many you have. It's about quality. A backlink from a big, respected website in your niche is way better than tons of links from random sites. Getting those good backlinks takes time and effort.
So how do we get those backlinks? Any tips?
Sure. Your sources say create really good informative content that other websites will naturally want to link to. You can also reach out to websites in your niche and offer to write guest posts or work together on projects. It's about building relationships and giving value.
Okay, so SEO is a long game. It takes technical skills and people skills.
Got it.
Now let's talk about social media. That's where we connect with people, build relationships, and show off our products. But there are so many platforms. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big world. But your sources have some good advice. First, figure out which platforms your target audience actually uses.
So we don't need to be on every single one. We can pick and choose.
Definitely. Do your research and find out where your ideal customers are hanging out online. Are they visual people on Instagram? Do they like long posts and discussions on Facebook? Once you know where they are, you can focus on those platforms.
Makes sense. No need to be everywhere at once. So once we've figured out our social media strategy, what's next?
Create awesome content that'll grab their attention. Think high-quality product photos, engaging videos, behind-the-scenes stuff, and content that teaches and entertains your audience. Your sources really stress being consistent and authentic.
So don't just post randomly, right? Got to have a plan and stick to it.
Consistency is key. And remember, social media is all about talking to people. Respond to comments, answer questions, chat with your followers, build those relationships, and they'll become your biggest fans.
I'm starting to get it. It's not just about broadcasting your message. It's about building a community. Now let's talk about paid advertising. This one makes me a little nervous. What if I spend a bunch of money and nothing happens?
Paid advertising can be scary, I get it, but it can also be super effective if you do it right.
Yeah.
Your sources say start small and test things out before you go all in.
So no need to blow my whole budget on a Super Bowl ad?
Not yet. Platforms like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, and Instagram Ads let you run small targeted campaigns. You can reach your perfect customers based on their age interests, what they do online.
Well, that's precise. We're not just yelling into the void. We're talking to people who actually might want what we're selling.
Exactly. That's the power of paid advertising. When it's done right, it connects you with the right people at the right time.
Okay, I see the potential.
Yeah.
But with so many platforms and options, it's still kind of confusing. Any tips on how to handle it?
First, get crystal clear on who your target audience is. Who are you trying to reach? What do they want? What are their problems? Once you know that you can make ads that speak directly to them.
So it's about making ads that connect with those people, making them feel like you get them and you have what they need.
You got it. And once your ads are running, the work doesn't stop. You got to track your results really closely, see which ads are doing well and which ones aren't. Paid advertising is all about testing, tweaking, and making things better.
Sounds like a lot of work. But it must feel amazing when you find that perfect ad.
It does. Now, with all this talk about automation, tech, and data, it's easy to forget about the human side of things. But as we wrap up our dropshipping depth dive, I want to leave you with this. Never forget about the people you're doing business with.
That's a good point. It's easy to get lost in the numbers.
Yeah.
But we're building businesses for people, right?
Right. No matter how much you automate, never forget to build real relationships with your customers. Answer their questions thoughtfully. Go the extra mile to fix their problems. Show them you care.
It's all about those connections, one customer at a time.
Exactly. And remember, dropshipping isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes hard work strategy and a willingness to learn and change. But with the right tools, the right attitude, and a lot of hustle, it can be a really amazing journey.
So true. And that's a wrap on our dropshipping deep dive. We've covered a ton, from automation and suppliers to marketing strategies and those dropshipping don'ts. But this is just the beginning. Keep learning, keep trying new things, and keep hustling. We'll be back with more deep dives into specific dropshipping stuff, so stay tuned.